A point from 2 games against Manchester United. Plenty of chances, but a lack of composure. I mean, Simon, how different do Leeds United actually look without Jesse Marsch? I mean, when you look at it, was he really the problem? What have we got here at Leeds?
I don't think he was as much the problem as he wasn't the solution. I know that might sound a bit like a riddle wrapped up in an enigma without any outcome at the end of it, but basically, I think that Leeds weren't massively improved from Marcelo Bielsa's time there to where they are now. They were always a very good watch. They are always very dynamic. They're always very expansive. But to me, I listened to Martin's commentary the other day, and I think we spoke about it last week, about the lack of a game plan, the lack of sophistication in game management, the lack of a coherent and calmness about either the manager or the players. And that is in part their reason for their downfall and the reason that they're in now. And of course, they don't have a central force that scores any particular goals for them. I do think it was right to get rid of Jesse Marsch. I didn't think he was fit for purpose. I thought he was all style over substance, and even at the end, the style ran out. So I think it was appropriate to make a change, but the change needed to be on the basis that you had your ducks in a row and that you knew where you were going next.
And they obviously haven't.
And I think the challenge at this moment in time for a couple of football clubs, and Southampton will fall into that category, is despite the belief, and it's not an arrogant belief, the belief that the Premier League is the best league in the world and that people will want to come to it. If your club is perceived to be in slight disarray and you look like you might drop out of the division, and all the onus is going to shift to a manager to try and arrest a slump that's going to be difficult to arrest, it isn't quite as alluring as people think it is. And they can't get these managers out just by knocking on their door and saying, hello, we're here, would you like to come and join us? And now what they're doing is they're spreading around from first choice to second choice to third choice a choice.
Yeah.
A choice.
Yeah. Well, the choice for Leeds United might just be the guy who was sacked by Ajax last month, Alfred Schreuder.
It seems clearly Leeds can't get the people that they want to the club, so all manner of people have been mentioned and linked to it. I'm looking at how wealthy Leeds is as a club. It's the 18th wealthiest club in world football right now, based on turnover. So, they should be able to attract a top-quality manager. I think they were a little bit late in... It's interesting now, Sean Dyche is now doing a great job at Everton. They've left it too late, haven't they, with Jesse Marsch, get him out, because all the signs were there for a long, long time. He kept talking about development and progress, and we didn't really see it. It didn't match up, and we called it codswallop, didn't we, in terms of what he was saying afterwards in the games. I do feel, though, that the quality of player that they've got in this group is, and they've been supported really well in the transfer market. I think, actually, there's a good enough squad here to get them out of trouble, Jim. When I look at McKennie in midfield and Adams, they really harry and hassle you, don't they? They just need... It hasn't changed. In fact, Manchester United got caught up in that first draw. They didn't have any composure themselves. They're able to do that to teams, Leeds, but they can't sort of snap out of that in front of goal and find that element of quality. So I do think there's a chance they can get out of trouble, Jim. Well, they get the right man in charge.
They've got Everton next. That's their next game. And that will give you a yardstick, because these are the two sides that are probably vying for that fourth to bottom spot. There might be a couple other amongst the mix, but I think Wolves are going to get themselves together under this new guy. So you're going to look at... my view is that if Leeds had come up, for what it's worth, Sean Dyche would have gone to Leeds, but it didn't come up in time. He's gone to Everton, which is another great football club, and I think Sean will turn it around. But we will find out if Everton beat Leeds on the 18th of February... all of a sudden the cat is amongst the pigeons now, because you're talking about the third from bottom side beating the fourth from bottom side, and this is the challenge that's in front of them. But who did
they go for, though, Simon? As you rightly say, so the Biff Marsch, he's gone. Now getting spoken about Southampton, which is incredible. We'll talk about that in a moment. Who do you go for? They're talking about this guy Schreuder. I'm damn sure you wouldn't be looking at Schreuder if you heard the endorsement or lack of it from anyone.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm assuming that they aren't the blind leading the blind, and people will say, well, they clearly are. But they have been moderately successful. This is the management team that got them out of the Championship after 17 years of being absent. They brought Bielsa in. They changed him to Jesse Marsch. I think the American influence was very prevalent on that. I hear things like Chris Wilder, and I put my head in my hands again, if that's a conversation, because I don't see how you come from
Chris
Sheffield.
Wilder for Leeds.
And I'd be perplexed if that's an outcome that would provide a happy and together fan base, given the fact he managed Sheffield United.
Yeah.
But notwithstanding all that, there is so much pressure on this decision. So much pressure, not just from the fact that Leeds are a big football club and within reason should be in the Premier League. Dropping out of the Premier League has other consequences. It has the consequences for the change of ownership. So there's a lot riding on this decision, but I'm with Martin. when you watch Leeds play, first of all, you didn't see them as if they weren't playing for their manager. That's one thing, is that they were playing for their manager, Jesse Marsch. The other thing is that the manager knows what to do with them. Our question was the manager doesn't know what to do with them. Right? The fact they were playing for him tells you that that squad of players are engaged. I think they're good enough to stay in the division. Now, I don't know what that means for Everton. It means that the argument has to be someone else has to get sucked into this, because I do think Bournemouth and Southampton are going to go. So with that in mind, I think it leaves one space, and I'm making a case for Everton staying up. I'm making a case that Leeds are good enough to stay up. Then somewhere along the line, someone's going to be wrong. But the managerial appointment, I understand Andy's point, but they can't, I say this, people can be, they can't be this stupid to look at someone that's completely wrong for an elite side in the Dutch league and suggest he's going to be capable of managing in the Premier League if indeed he isn't capable. That would be a version of, of hanging themselves metaphorically.
Well, Leeds are where they are because they are where they are. They've won 4-22. Everton won 4-21. Bournemouth won 4-22. Southampton won 4-22.
A lot of draws in there for Leeds. Isn't there a lot of draws in there for Leeds?
There are. In fact,
well,
next
7, but Everton and Leeds have drawn 6 times.
Jim, actually, it's Everton next, yes, as Simon quite rightly says, then followed by Southampton.
Yeah.
So, those two games are absolutely massive. I mean, that might be their season in those two matches.
Yeah.
Well, Angus Kinnear, Chief Executive at Leeds, Simon says the search for a new head coach is well advanced. Well, yeah, we're not surprised in that. But do you get this image of Leeds groping in the dark a bit at the moment?
Well, it says something, and again, it says something maybe about West Bromwich Albion, but it says something they couldn't get Carlos Corberán. And they wanted him. Now, whether the Leeds fans wanted him or not is a different matter. The Leeds fans aren't making the decision. The owners are making the decision, so they're the ones that should be able to double down on what they want. I go to the point that I think they're finding it very difficult to get managers to come in, and it's not just the fait accompli that they might have anticipated it would be, that they would have had these conversations, got some preliminary interest from various people, because don't believe that these conversations happen after the guy's been sacked. They were happening leading up to the fact he's going to be sacked. It's the same way that Southampton probably did the same thing. You don't think even if Nathan Jones had won on Saturday, I think Southampton would have sacked him. Yeah. And so I think that in mind, they're planning their thought processes, but I do think they're struggling to get managers because these managers aren't jumping at the bit of managing either one of these clubs.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.